Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps to showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram through the links in the show notes. In this episode, we'll be talking with Ian Miller.
Ian transplanted to Maine from Connecticut nearly 15 years ago. He is the chef and owner of Pepper's Landing and Sea Salt Lobster Restaurant. Food and hospitality have been part of his life since his early teen years. Being in Maine with the bounty of seafood is a perfect match for him and led to opening the restaurants he has. Most people only experience Maine a time or so a year. He believes we are fortunate to have the Maine experience every day. Welcome to the show, Ian.
Oh, well, welcome. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, we're so glad that you're here today.
Why are you waving at me? You've got the first question. We just started,
I know,
here we go.
I know. So, Ian, one of the questions I had was, how did you originally get into working in restaurants and hospitality? How did you start in this industry?
Yeah, no, that's a good question for, I guess, gives a little bit of my background. Well, I was about 14 years old, and a local restaurant where I was born and raised down in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Wolcott, Connecticut. Central, around Waterbury is what I always relate people to. This restaurant moved from a small location to a big location. They were kind of family friends of ours, and I was actually looking for a job not in my family's business, which I was doing at that time, and took a job as a prep cook, kind of dishwasher, and that lasted for one day in that position, and then they asked me if I wanted to kind of run what they called their hot appetizer station, and kind of the rest fell into history from there. I just, like, food was always a real passion for me growing up. My mother was always and still is an amazing cook. Our house revolved around food. You know, we were all big eaters. My father, myself, my brother, and my sister for that matter too, and kind of just fell into it. As a kid, I was always going to be a veterinarian, which my family is all in that industry. So it was quite a change for me to jump into food service and hospitality, but it fell very natural for me. I always, as a teenager, you know, friends were over. My family we've always been into hunting. So, you know, I can recall, like, you know, making venison steak sandwiches for like me and my friends at my house growing up as a kid. And once I jumped into the industry as an actual job, it was like my zen. It was like where I was meant to be. And awesome. You know, I was 15 years old, and I was running a very busy station within a kitchen, and all my coworkers were much, much older than me and had years of experience. I had days and weeks of experience. Wow. That, you know, and it just worked. I don't know if it was the day of modern television with, you know, the Food Network at its early times then when I was a kid and stuff like that. But it just fell natural, and I continued to do that. And then, you know, it was coming to the point of graduating high school, and it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And so I actually took a year off. I didn't go right away to college. And my chef that I worked under, his wife was a pastry chef at another location, another restaurant in a couple towns over that was really well known for kind of some more high-end food and local farm to table movement. And and at that time, I mean, that was pretty early for that trend. And he got me a job at that restaurant. It was Carol Peck's Good News Cafe in Woodbury, Connecticut. And you know, that catapulted me, I think, even further, just because, the food was amazing. We were using, all kinds of great local ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
the pace and the drive of that restaurant. It was just, it sucked me in. It was, and I used that time to make the proper decision of what I wanted to do for college. I didn't want to waste my time in school. It's kind of how I am in general. I don't really like to waste time with things. So it was like, okay, well, the Culinary Institute of America, that's my destination. Best, kind of has the reputation of the best culinary school in the United States or the world for that matter. Very progressive, intense schooling. And like I said in the beginning, it was really natural for me. It was just like what drew me in, and I just ran with it.
That's great.
And, I've just kept it. It hasn't stopped. I was 15 years old. I'm 38 now, and I just kept going and going and going. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love that picture that you pointed, and how, it started with family, how food can do that. It just kind of unites, and it brings people together.
Yeah.
And so it started with, just that family piece. And it's so cool to see that. I mean, I can see that picture and that passion there.
Yeah. And it was, holiday times, like as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, that was always like really big in my house, where we all got together. I mean, I don't have a huge family, but we all got together, and, I always wanted to be a part of the cooking process. And, my mother would be making the turkey early in the morning. And, something that we always do in our family is we always have like a shrimp cocktail platter, and we always have like kind of a cheese charcuterie type board. Been doing that since I was a little kid. And that was like my role, actually. Always, like, that was my thing. My mother would always like get everything ready for me and be like, all right, put your stuff together, do whatever and it's crazy as I think back on it, how influential I guess that was in my career of where I am today.
Just that creativity. She gave you that creativity to do that, as Todd would call it. What do you call it, Todd?
No, I only do that to tease you.
Okay, he calls it a meat and cheese platter. I tell him, I try to explain to him it's charcuterie.
Yeah.
He says, "Are you going to make a meat and cheese platter?" It riles me right up. But
I just do that. I just do that to make sure you keep the blood warm. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. But I love that. That's such a great picture. That just seeing your mom.
And two of Kim's favorite things: shrimp cocktail and charcuterie boards. Those are like.
But.
I could make a meal.
Yes.
I think Kim has made a meal out of those before.
Yeah, for sure. But it's so cool to see how that passion started so young. It's a great picture for sure.
Yeah.
Did you kind of get kickback when you were like 15 years old and you're kind of running a section of the kitchen? And did you ever, or was everyone just kind of like, oh no,
I definitely had to prove myself. Certainly got plenty of, I guess the best way for this medium that we're in to call it is constructive criticism.
Borderline hazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know if either of you have ever worked in restaurants or anything, but kitchens can be
colorful.
Colorful. Yes.
I was trying to find a diplomatic way to say that. Good on you, Kim.
Yeah. I mean, it's high stress. It's busy. This was a busy restaurant. We sat close to 300 people in there.
Wow.
Big menu, kind of I guess I would classify it as, your kind of an American style restaurant, had a little bit of everything on it.
Yep.
And it's that original restaurant, Mad River Restaurant, which I first started in. That place got me. I guess I could say that one is what really catapulted me into the industry, because I had drank the Kool-Aid. I was on board. I was like, this is where I'm going.
That's great.
Some people are like, you're crazy. You work ungodly hours of the week, and you're always at work at nights, but I enjoyed it. I didn't mind the separating me from my friends or what have you, because it was a passion.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's great. So now you have your current situation is you have Sea Salt Lobster Restaurant in SACO, and then you have Pepper's Landing, which is in Brunswick.
Yep. And then we also have Rochester as well.
Which I just saw that, which is kind of funny being, coming from, one town over in Dover, New Hampshire. It's kind of, I saw that. I'm like, whoa, hey, wait a minute. I've heard of that place. And so you've got multiple locations here. I mean, can you kind of give us an overview of what you do? What are the concepts behind these restaurants and kind of just a view of what your current situation is?
Yeah. So everything started with Sea Salt Lobster. I wish I could take the credit for creating that actual restaurant, but I did not. My business partner, Maury Heibarger, actually started that whole concept as an extension from the wholesale seafood company that they had started 10 years prior to that. Mm-hmm. When they moved to their current location in SACO and built their building and everything, and just the good location that it is, being right on Route 1, SACO, Old Orchard, tourism, and, sunny SACO, Maine. They opened this restaurant that they felt was going to be just kind of a modern take on a lobster shack and might not even be year round. Mm. And that quickly morphed into, what Sea Salt is today, year round, busy, good local following. It originally was going to be just a counter service style restaurant, not a full service style restaurant. And once it turned into that, shortly after that is when I came into the picture. I had a relationship with Sea Salt and my partner from when they first started their wholesale company. I was one of their first customers at a restaurant that I was running in Ogunquit, and just continued our relationship. I did little side jobs for them. I would do some, tasting events and whatnot for them for clients and stuff. And then 4 years ago, I was looking at something else to actually go out on my own. I've been in a walk of corporate and fine dining restaurants and stuff prior. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, the deal that I was trying to put together on my own restaurant, it really wasn't great. And I had actually inquired with Maury, my partner. I said, hey, can you look at this? He's very financially, he has good acumen for that line of the business. And, he presented me with the offer of like, hey, this isn't going to work, but what if I was to sell you part of this company? I said, well, that would work. That sounds like a great opportunity. So I just kind of jumped in, and I bought a good portion of Sea Salt Lobster Restaurant with the intent of using my skill set of, helping to improve the restaurant, helping to grow the culinary level in there and just improve things. And with the intention of us growing and expanding into other walks, other operations. At the time, we actually weren't even thinking it was other restaurants. We were thinking more of like an event type business. But we quickly realized we had a great concept with Sea Salt. And we had these developers that were very keen on our concept and wanted us within their locations. And that's how we kind of formed Pepper's Landing. Pepper's Landing is named after my business partner's, after Maury's grandfather, Pepper Martin, who he was a Maine, he was just a true Maine man, from guiding to hunting and fishing, and very integrated with the Indians up in Old Town. There's hours and hours of like this cool stories, and which it made our brand really feel true. Like we didn't just come up with some hokey name. We have a name that really means something, and it really it means and mirrors a lot of what we're about, and that's focusing on high quality, sustainable Maine seafood, because that was kind of how the wholesale business was founded, was really showcasing and branding the Maine lobster brand, which has so much hype behind it and prestige. The Maine lobsters are all around the world. They're known as, some of the best. And what Maine as a state does for lobster and the seafood industry is much superior to that of what our neighbors to the north of Canada do. Like the product is just handled differently from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we really wanted to focus on as a restaurant. And we only use fresh seafood.
That's great.
We really focus on those. So started with our Brunswick location actually a year and a half ago. Works pretty well. Obviously, we've gone through some tough times lately, but while that was developing, we also moved into our Rochester location, which is really a great location. Rochester, New Hampshire has a beautiful market basket plaza that they built. It's called the Ridge. It's a huge, beautiful plaza that's got all kinds of amenities to it that really has a great draw to it.
Nice.
And we kind of built our flagship location there, if you will. We're freestanding location. Really, the design of the exterior and interior really was able to come together there. We did the best we could with Brunswick. Brunswick, we're actually a unique spot for New England, anyways. We're a restaurant within a strip. Like there's a Shaw's anchor on one end, and we're on the very far end. We're actually inline. We call it an inline strip, or it's within a plaza. It's not freestanding. That's a uniqueness for New England. Other parts of our country, that is pretty common. You find fine dining restaurants, and not that we're fine dining, but nice restaurants and sit down style restaurants within these plazas.
Right.
It's been definitely a learning curve for our Brunswick customers. It's like they come in and they're like, "Oh my, I didn't even know this was here. Like, this is beautiful." They come in and they like have this beautiful dining room they can go sit down in. So it's really cool.
That's so cool.
And our focus is providing a great Maine experience, from the food to the service.
I love that.
I mean, here in Maine, I'm a transplant to Maine, as I indicated to y'all in my bio.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've transplanted, though, I've put deep roots in. I'm a 50-foot oak tree in this state now with my roots. I live and breathe the mantra here. So definitely it's been great. An exciting run.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So one thing I just kind of want to ask, because you kind of had an old school apprenticeship, in restaurants. Is that something that you kind of try to do in your restaurants now? Do you look for younger folks who are working there to be like, you know what, I think this person, they might have something, this might be something they want to do. Is that something you kind of carry on now?
Oh, we definitely do.
So cool.
That's always been process that I really live by. In owning my own places, or even before when I was, a chef in a kitchen or running food service units or whatnot, finding those people that have that desire and, you see the skills in them, and being able to promote from within and grow is something that I just thrive on. Cool. I love it. It makes my day and what I do all worth it in the end. If I can maybe help shape somebody's career or whatnot, I take a lot of pride in that. And we've had a few of those individuals. I've had I've had a couple individuals. They've been with us for since our beginning, and we've grown them, and they've grown with us, and now they hold more leadership roles with us, and have grown their culture and degree level with us, which is really great.
So how do you keep you have such a passion for food? How do you keep that passion for food in business going?
There's a number of ways that I have to do to do that, because, well, with any business, it's a lot of work. I'm a very competitive individual, so me seeing what others are doing is one way. My fellow neighbors or whatnot that are social media posts and this and that, I see that and I'm like, ooh, okay, that inspires me for the next step. Just the beautiful products that I get to work with too it's hands down. You can't ask for anything more inspiring than when you can work with some of the best, in my world, seafood for that matter. So really work with those. And I think my competitiveness is the thing that really helps me drive on a daily basis, because I always want to be better than I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I steal that from CrossFit. I do a lot of CrossFit to keep myself motivated and keep my brain clear. But better than yesterday is a saying we always use. So I always try and be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
When you see the customers and you create special moments for people, that is more fuel than any food or anything could be, whether it's just a simple birthday or it's just a simple date night out for a couple and they're like so happy when they leave and they're like, oh, I love this place. You have great food. That's an ego boost. Yeah. I mean, that's an ego booster right there to the extreme.
That's great. I was thinking about it, and what boils, chefs really are artists. You're creating and you're an artist. And I was thinking, and it makes me think, when you go to a restaurant sometimes, or you find a dish that is just mind blowing, it literally is like you're eating a piece of art.
Right.
Exactly. And so that there's so much creativity there. I love food. So there's so much creativity there, and it just, you really do have this form of art that you put out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a culinary arts degree is what we go and get. And I've used that analogy before. I said, I can't draw to save my life, but I can make food look really good and taste really good. Mm-hmm. So that's my medium of artistry. Because don't ask me to draw a picture, because it's stick figures and bubbles. That's about as far as I get.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think it's cool too, the way, especially when you watch some of cooking shows or even some of the master classes that are out there for cooking and things like that, and you see the chef get excited, like legitimately just excited when they're looking at the ingredients themselves. And they're just like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful piece of, steak, or this, oh, look at these scallops, they're gorgeous. And just using that type of language is amazing to me, that, they're looking at scallops. I'm like, yeah, those are scallops.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, these are gorgeous. And look at this. And and just the feel of them and all that. I'm like, wow, that's on a whole other level. But I imagine that, painters look at it and like, oh my gosh, this color, this is the color orange I've been looking for forever. Which, I mean, hey, you make lobster every day, but you've got to find different things to be excited about it every day. So the dogs are apparently living that mantra with you.
It's funny you use the analogy of scallops, because scallops are something that I get super excited about. We get our sourcing group, our sales team that does purchasing and stuff for us from the wholesale company, because we buy all of our own seafood from my business partner's company, the wholesale company. And scallops are something that when they come in and they're these beautiful, they're so fresh that they're practically still moving. Like, we get super excited about that. Like, I see them and I'm like, oh my God, these are great. And whether I'm slicing them super thin and doing a quick, like, crudo style dish, or I'm like, oh, we got to get a good sear on these. And, we taste them out just because they'll be so tasty and sweet at that time that we're like, oh my God, these are amazing. We get so excited about food items like that, a really great piece that comes in, whatever it may be, a fish or meat. I mean, we serve a lot of meat. We don't just serve seafood. We do serve, land animals. So sometimes you see a great cut of steak or beef and we're like, oh, look at that. Beautiful. It's got these, great marbling. It's really nice color. And this,
I'm
those
hungry now.
Those are
yeah. What the heck? Like, I want to eat all this now.
Well, you guys aren't far from the restaurant. So, the restaurant, Sea Salt opens at 11. So
I know. I love your fried.
And there the business comes in.
I know. Yeah. And I love your fried clams and your lobster bisque that you've done. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's amazing. And my daughter loves it too. And she loves the treasure chest thing that you guys do. It's so fun. But yeah, your food is amazing. I'm hungry now.
Thank you.
So, what would you say? So this is kind of a two-parter. What has been your biggest challenge this year, and what would you say has been your biggest success this year?
Yeah. So big challenges obviously this year is the ever looming COVID-19, which has presented challenges that they don't have a rule book for. There's no guidebook for that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's been, from just navigating the the regulations and restrictions that we need to do, and keeping everybody happy and being able to provide hospitality along the way has been definitely challenging. It changes things. I think of my servers, and when things were first coming out and they're like, okay, everybody needs to wear a mask. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be really difficult for servers. Like, human communication has done a lot with facial expressions. So it's really hard. I've actually had customers at times that I've gotten feedback like, oh, my server they didn't seem like they were connecting with me or whatever. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Or somebody was rude or whatever. I said, I'm really sorry. And these are people I know really well. And I'm like, I know they wouldn't be rude or whatever. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. The facial expressions, it's really hard.
It's huge.
We almost have to, as we all know, talking with a mask on, you have to talk louder. You have to, so you're almost kind of yelling at people at times. So it's like definitely a challenge there. I mean, the initial shutdown was a huge challenge for us to be able to navigate, and changed a lot of how we do things. We went fully takeout. Okay. We did a lot of takeout before, but the first weekend night we realized, okay, we're not prepared for this. We had one phone in the restaurant. That was all we ever needed before. Maybe there would be the times that somebody would call and they'd get a busy signal or whatever, or they'd get put to our voicemail. But that was far and few between. Well, it was to the point the phone was ringing off the hook so much that you couldn't even answer. Like, you had trouble answering it because you'd answer it and then it'd be ringing in your ear. So it'd be call waiting or whatever in your ear. You wouldn't be able to hear the person. So, had to add phone lines, had to create an online ordering platform, all these new challenges for us. So that's definitely been hard. Adjusting work schedules for people and that stuff. Knock on wood, I've been very fortunate that I have a total of about 87 employees between 3 locations. We have been very safe and everyone's been healthy. We haven't had any issues of corona or anything like that amongst our team, which that's been really, really good. Which kind of, I guess, mirrors the question of my biggest success, and us keeping everybody safe. That's been really the big success of the year. I would put that on our forefront, and because they really are we're all like family in each individual restaurant. We all know each other very well. We spend a lot of time together, so it's really, really important that everybody remains safe. And then the other biggest success I would say right now is that we opened a brand new restaurant in the middle of a pandemic. We opened Rochester June 8th. So that's huge. That was huge. It was, it was kind of daunting. It was like, how are we going to do this? And we did it. And that one was, we were serving for the first week 100% outdoors, because New Hampshire went to indoor service on June 15th. So we were the first week of business 100% outdoors, and we were doing substantial numbers. Like, I don't even know how we were doing. It was amazing what we were doing. I was like, this is chaos, but it's the fun kind of chaos for us, which people outside of the industry don't necessarily understand all the time, but there is a degree of chaos that's fun for us. So
that's great.
That's great. I would say that everyone being safe is definitely the biggest success of this year for sure.
Yeah. As someone who's only worked as a wait staff and not been in the kitchen, so many times I've looked back there and I'm like, I'm glad they know what's going on, because I've had no idea. That just looks like a bunch of people shouting and moving around. I don't know how any of this works.
It's amazing. It's such a testament to, obviously the hard work that you guys have put in, and just the fact that you value your employees. I love that. It's just a beautiful picture.
Without my employees, I'm just one lone guy.
And that's huge. And as a business owner, that's huge that you see that, and that a lot of businesses don't always see that.
No, they don't.
So that's huge. So my question is, I love your passion for what you do, but I want to know who or what inspires you.
So I had mentioned earlier that I grew up in a family-run veterinary business. My father was a veterinarian for a very, very long time, close to 50 years. He actually practiced. And growing up in that family-owned business, that to this day, even though it's been years since I've been involved and years since they've actually sold the business, a few years since they sold the business and retired, their passion for what they did and how they walked through life and did what they did is one of my biggest inspirations. Another one that kind of falls similar is family. I have a family myself, and being able to provide the life that I do for my family is what inspires me all the time. That provides me the energy to wake up all the time and keep going. And then, like I mentioned before, what builds passion in me is my competition. I'm competitive. I like to outdo, the next guy. I see something and I say, okay, how can I do that? How can I do it better? What can I do to put my own spin on it? And then having my team that I have it's about 87 people. I take a lot of pride in that I'm able to provide a career or a form of income for these individuals, and they're providing for their family. When we did have the first initial shutdown, well, at that time I only had like 60-ish employees because I only had the 2 restaurants right then. I had to lay off a number of people it was just a short period of time because that was before any assistance came our way and that type of stuff. That was one of the hardest days that I've probably ever had in my career was, contacting all of them and letting them know, like, yeah, we're not working right now. And here's how you're going to go collect from unemployment. And that was really, really, really hard to digest. It was definitely not an easy day because it was like, I'm letting all of them down right now. And their income lifts right now. So, those are my biggest inspirations right there.
That's great. Well, Ian, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us and to be here with us. I'm going to make sure we have links to all of the locations in the show notes, and you can still do online ordering and stuff like that for takeout, but at the moment there is still dine-in service and all that happening. And so I'll make sure I put in all the links, show notes, social media, all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for sharing, your passion for food and all that. We're very hungry now.
We're hungry. We're hungry and we're inspired. We're leaving hungry and inspired.
Yes. So thank you very much, and we wish you great success in the coming year, especially with the new location. And it's just been great having this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on with y'all and take part in this venture that you guys are doing.